In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
But I do ask every publisher, every editor, and every newsman in the nation to re-examine his own standards and to recognize the nature of our country's peril. In time of war, the government and the press have customarily joined in an effort based largely on self-discipline to prevent unauthorized disclosures to the enemy. In times of clear and present danger, the courts have held that even the privileged rights of the First Amendment must yield to the public's need for national security. Today, no war has been declared, and however fierce the struggle may be, it may never be declared in the traditional fashion. Our way of life is under attack. Those who make themselves our enemy are advancing around the globe. The survival of our friends is in danger, and yet no war has been declared. No borders have been crossed by marching troops. No missiles have been fired. If the press is awaiting a declaration of war before it imposes the self-discipline of combat conditions, then I can only say that no war ever posed a greater threat to our security. If you are awaiting a finding of clear and present danger, then I can only say that the danger has never been more clear, and its presence has never been more imminent.
It's time to recognize that we've come to a turning point. We're threatened with an economic calamity of tremendous proportions, and the old business-as-usual treatment can't save us. Together, we must chart a different course. We must increase productivity. That means making it possible for industry to modernize and make use of the technology which we ourselves invented. That means putting Americans back to work, and that means, above all, bringing government spending back within government revenues, which is the only way, together with increased productivity, that we can reduce and, yes, eliminate inflation.
The only thing that can stop this corrupt machine is you. The only force strong enough to save our country is us. The only people brave enough to vote out this corrupt establishment is you, the American people. I'm doing this for the people and for the movement, and we will take back this country for you, and we will make America great again.
Hello and welcome to Inform America. I'm your host, Rich Merrett. Today is November 27th, 2019. Before we get started with the show, I'd like you to ask you to check out the Boston Broadside newspaper. I believe it's an up-and-coming paper. I'd also know for a fact that they tell the truth. So let's get rid of some of the rag sheets and support somebody who's honest with us, the American people. Let us know what's going on in the news. Boston Broadside. If you would, go to the nationallibertyalliance.org. Check them out, too. I happen to believe that they're an organization that's trying their best to restore the rule of law, which is going to be the theme of the show today, restoring the rule of law. Sign up as a member for the nationallibertyalliance.org. Help them out financially or with your time, whatever you can do. But also take advantage of the educational tools that they have on their website. It's phenomenal. You'll be very pleased when you turn your kids on to that information. It's very informative. And thirdly, I'd like to ask people to support my book, Stand Your Ground. It's a story about how I ignited the union in Massachusetts, the largest law enforcement union in New England, and some of the things that we went through, or I went through, I should say, since I wrote the book. And I thought it would be an interesting read for people. Most people that have read it have commented it's a good book, so check it out. You can find it on Amazon. I believe there'll be a link put up at the end of the show, excuse me. And you can click on that link and get it there too. Check it out. That is the theme of the show today, is restoring the rule of law. And I've heard so many people on the internet saying that. There is no rule of law in America. And, well, for whatever it's worth, they're right. There is no rule of law in America. Excuse me. The court system in America is gone. And hopefully I can demonstrate that to you today. But I want to start off by saying this. If we can have Article 5 of the New Hampshire Constitution put up there, it's the power of the general court. And basically what it says there, and I've underlined the definition of the word state. I've underlined it and bolded it so that you can see. It says that they make laws for the benefit and welfare of the state. It doesn't say the benefit and welfare of the people. People and state are not synonymous. They're not spelled the same, they don't sound the same, and they don't mean the same. It's very simple. The state is the state. And if you went to Article 7, we don't have this to put up for you, but if you went to Article 7, Part 1, it would say, the people of this state. So they're talking about the people of the state of New Hampshire. Very specific. Well, they're not talking about the people here, they're talking about the state. And if you look at the definition, it's the government. The government is the state. It's very simple. We elect, think about this, we elect representatives to go up to the State House and make laws, rules, whatever, ordinances for the state, for our bureaucrats, our government workers to obey. Not for me and you. We're under common law. And common law, by the way, just so you know, is a court of record. It's land jurisdiction. You and I are on land jurisdiction. We walk on the land. What the courts have today all across America are called administrative courts or admiralty courts, admiralty jurisdiction. Well, admiralty is the law of the sea. And I don't have web feet. I don't walk on water, nor do I swim with gills. So I'm on the land jurisdiction. The sea jurisdiction has nothing to do with me. However, if I go into a courtroom and I consent to their bogus jurisdiction, then I'm in there. I'm consenting to it. I will never consent to the courts in this country, in America today. Now, that may not mean anything to you. Civilly, I'm talking here, so I make that very specific. Obviously, if criminally, there's still no court of record, but they put one up. They put the facade of a court of record being up. One of the things that I wanted to say again is a court of record there's 4 criteria, and this is in Black's Law. I'm making it up. I'll actually use 5, but the criteria for a court of record, common law, land jurisdiction court is, number 1, operates in the course of the common law. Number 2, has its own seal, meaning like a notary public seal. They actually put it on the paper. That's number 2. Number 3 is that the magistrate is separate from the tribunal. The magistrate is the judge, for lack of another word, but he's a magistrate. He operates in a different capacity. He's the traffic cop in the court, keeps things moving, okay? That's the level or the limit of his authority. And number 4 is it keeps a record of the proceedings. That's number 4. There is a 5th one, and I want to be very clear about this, and people should know about it, is a court of record has the right to fine or imprison for contempt, and only a court of record. So the courts that are doing it now are kidnapping people and unlawfully putting them in prison. But you don't have to believe me. No, a judge can do that. I had an argument with a gentleman who wrote numerous books on common law, and he says, oh, no, they can do that. And I says, well, please explain where, because what the law says is this. The law says no one shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. That's what the law says. So if a judge says, I'm holding you in contempt, and they throw you in jail, is he denying you due process? Absolutely. So he's violating the law. And the court that he's in, the administrative admiralty court, is not a court of record. So he's got no authority to do that. Now, they've been doing it for 50, 60, 70 years. I don't know how long they've been doing it. I honestly don't. But just because they've been doing it that long doesn't make it right. It's against the law. If you read the law and then you understand what they're doing is wrong, you'll see. Excuse me. The other point I wanted to make is that the legislature, and I've talked to numerous legislatures, and the legislature is supposed to, as we said in Article 6, they're supposed to enact legislation for the government to obey. It's the let's make a law 55 mile an hour. It's for the people, the police, okay, the state police, whatever, any dignitary, Department of Transportation. They're going to drive 55 miles an hour because we want them to be safe. They're driving our cars. We want them to be safe, so we tell them there's a law. You have to buckle up your seatbelt. We want you to be safe. Those laws pertain to government officials. They don't pertain to us. In New Hampshire, the legislature's part-time. Do you really think that you're going to elect legislators, pay them $100 a year, and say, go ahead, rule over me? No, they're public servants, and they work for us. Now, I can't get it, there isn't enough time to go into it, but the system is totally changed. They're not public servants, they're our masters today. They don't listen to us, they don't respond to us. The only thing they do is take a paycheck from us. Wait a minute, that sounds like taxation was without representation. Could that be it? No, that's probably not it at all. The point I'm trying to get at is the legislature, they think they're enacting laws to regulate our behavior. Okay? The police come along because they've been conditioned for a lifetime to enforce these statutes. These statutes don't apply to the people of the state of New Hampshire or any other state, any other of the 49 states. However, the police will argue. They'll listen to this show and say, this guy's whacked. He doesn't know what he's talking about. No, I know what I'm talking about. And I can prove it. The wording in the law proves what I'm saying. The statutes that you enforce, you're doing it unlawfully. Okay? And the people who are ignorant of the law, as the police are and the legislature are, they're sitting there not knowing any better, so they're accepting what's happening to them. The only one in this whole scenario that knows what's going on and is participating in the fraud and the corruption is the judge in the courtroom and the attorneys, members of the bar. And it has to do with money and only money. It has nothing to do with justice. There is no justice. Not in America anymore. No justice. I mean, LaBoy Finicum got murdered. Anybody pay a penny? Nope, nobody paid any price for that. The state police or the FBI, whoever the hell shot him. Jerry DeLemus is still sitting in jail. It's coming up on 4 years he's been in prison. But he never did anything. He never harmed anybody. Nothing. Okay, they railroaded him into, staying in jail. So it's 4 years and he's got another 3+ to go. Wonderful country, wonderful system we live in. Nobody seems to care. It's all right when everybody says, well, what's wrong with our country? Trump is this and Trump is that, or this one is this or this one is... Listen, your country's corrupt. I think Donald Trump's trying to fix it. And I'm not waving his flag until I start seeing things a little... I want to see some people arrested for some serious crimes. But I can't get... That's not up to me. I'm just one guy. But you need people like yourself to stand up and realize that what is going on is wrong. It's wrong. These statutes that the police are enforcing are wrong. It's against the law. Read Article 5. Don't take my word for it. Read Article 5. And then read the rest of the Constitution and tell me where you think I'm wrong. Because if the legislature makes law, and they do for the government, okay, not for me and you, the common law is an unwritten law. It's the land jurisdiction. And the reason it's unwritten is because we hold to a higher authority. The only one's higher than us on planet Earth is God. That's who we answer to, God. He created us in his image and likeness. He gave us life. We are supposed to be a moral society and care for one another. How do you want to deal with it? The question is yours, and I'm posing it to you. If you can't read Article 5, which is a very small article we put up there, and I do wanted to put up Article 4. I almost forgot this. If you could put it up, Brandon, I'd appreciate that. Article 4, Part 2 of the state constitution. It talks about, and I bolded and underlined these. I changed it a little bit. I didn't change the wording, but I did that just to highlight it. You'll see court of record. A court of record is land jurisdiction. In 1966, through the 60s and 70s, the state of New Hampshire, the bar, got rid of it. Okay? It was a slow metamorphosis that happened over the years. It didn't happen overnight, but they took it anyway. The court of record, they have general jurisdiction now, which I don't know what the hell general jurisdiction is. I never heard of it before. But the court of record land jurisdiction is gone. The only way that it can possibly be there, if any judge says it's there, is they've built a maze in front of that courthouse, that land jurisdiction, and there's no entrance. Or I don't know how you're going to find it, because they might still have it there. The Constitution's there, but only physically. It's not being enacted. It's not being enforced, especially by state government, because they've gone through the whole system and corrupted it. And for you cops out there, I'm going to say this again. If you're out there writing traffic tickets, it's BS. It's bull. You're writing tickets that you have no authority to write, but yet you've been getting away with it in the courts because the judges are corrupt. And for me or anybody else to come along and say, listen, I want to fight this. Well, have fun, because the courts are corrupt. Where are you going to fight it to? The Supreme Court for a traffic ticket? Cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars to get there? It's ridiculous. All you have to do, and this isn't your interpretation, all you have to do is read the law. What does it say? I'm not expecting anybody to come up, and there's no debate on the matter. Look up the word state, use it in the proper context, and then find out what the law says. And then realize that there are no courts of records, as in Article 4 says. There's no courts of record. Which is your court. It's yours. The land jurisdiction belongs to you and me. It's owed to us. But it's been stolen, and we were too ignorant to notice it. My whole point in this is simply that we've all been fooled for decades and decades and decades. And the police, that you were taught to do this by someone before you, you were. And someone before you, you were. I get that. That doesn't make it right. It has to be stopped. And if it isn't stopped, that means our whole police system is corrupt. And they're going to take down the establishment, not the establishment, they're going to take down the country with the bar. They're going to be the muscle for the bar. So if that's the way it's going to play out, fine, it's going to play out. For the attorneys who do know better, but don't have the backbone to stand up, I have no sympathy for you. If we go down, we go down. It's your fault. It's your fault. You pay dues to the bar. I don't pay dues to them. You do. That makes you guilty. I mean, if you want to sit there and you want to badmouth the KKK or any other militant group and you want to give them money, well, guess what? You're part of the KKK or a militant group. It's the same thing. Pay dues to the bar, you're guilty. I don't know. You can plead your way out of that. Anyway, I got a couple final points on this thing, and it is. I don't know if I made my point or I didn't make my point. I certainly hope I did. And if you have questions, the email address, you can send it to me, and I'll check it out for you and get an answer to you if I can. But please understand that this is your law. This is your life. You're not living in. This isn't a TV show. This is reality. It's your life. You have to wake up to the fact. I happen to believe, and a lot of other people do too, that this is a very serious matter. Tomorrow's Thanksgiving. I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. This may be one of the last Thanksgivings if we in America don't get our act together. Okay, and we start caring about one another and helping one another, and every time you hear another one died of heroin, there's been another suicide, there's been another this, there's been another that. When are we going to start caring? When it's you? When it's too late to care? Now's the time to care, not tomorrow. So be thankful for what you have tomorrow, but please take a little initiative to start making your public officials aware of the law and doing the right thing. Secondarily, I found out last night that Representative Dick Marple, who's been on the show several times, is in the LA hospital and he's doing very poorly. Dick is an elderly gentleman, but I consider him a hero and a super patriot. So I'd like to ask people to pray for him. Pray for him that he gets better, and if, because of his age, if God ends up taking him, pray for his soul. It's something we all need. There's a battle against good and evil in this planet. I want to see good, Woody. I've always been on the side of good. I'm staying there. I'm staying there. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope that I made the point that we're all participating in this fraud, this court system, this justice system that doesn't exist in America. By the way, the family courts were thrown out of a county in Texas. They were proven to be false, and they were thrown out. I can't give you more details because I didn't have time to look it up. I apologize for that, but maybe you can check it out on your own. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to the show, like Facebook. We got rid of our website, so we won't send you there. But check out the nationallibertyalliance.org. Very informative. Thank you very much. Have a good night. Happy Thanksgiving.